Hi, I'm Justine Allen. I am Program and Event Coordinator with 10 at the Top. One of the ways 10 at the Top serves the upstate community is through our Senior Issues Group. We are lucky today to have one of the members of our steering committee with us, Andrea Smith. Andrea is Executive Director at Senior Action. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, Justine. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So I thought what we do is talk a bit today about what Senior Action does and how you serve the senior population in the upstate.
Yeah, so for those people who are not aware of what Senior Action is or does, we are a nonprofit that depends on the community for support, but we do a lot of different things. We like to say that we are a force for seniors in Greenville because we're not just one thing, one building, one activity. We're at a lot of different things. And we really try to advocate on behalf of the senior population in a lot of different ways. But we do have 8 different locations in Greenville all over the county. We have additional services like we partner with Meals on Wheels to do home delivered meals. We also do medical transportation. We have a lawn care service. So we do a lot of different things that all have the intention of keeping people as engaged as possible in the community, whether that's through volunteerism or that's social activities or fitness and music and art, but also helping keep some basic needs met, like getting to the doctor, taking care of lawns that sometimes can't be maintained. And so that's kind of what we try very hard to do. And that changes. You know, next year we might have some other programs that we offer and some we get rid of that aren't that needed anymore. So we just really try to adapt however the community needs us to be.
I didn't realize that's really great that you actually go out into the community and help with things like lawn care. I've been to actually your Greenville facility. I used to teach a little class there, so I'm familiar with that. And it was really neat to see everyone coming in and their level of enthusiasm. I think there was a band that was coming into practice and people were working out. I think I've seen you are actually expanding to a bigger place.
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we are just really super excited about our new space. It's something we've been working on for really about 5 years now. About 5 years ago, we recognized that we have completely outgrown what we consider our main headquarters. Again, we have 8 locations, but our main headquarters is really open all day long. It's really a full-time program, but we'd outgrown it. I mean, our parking lot was packed. All of our classes are starting to have waiting lists. And so we knew we needed to do something. So we started on a journey to try to find a new location that really fit a lot of needs that we had. And we feel like we found the perfect place. We bought that new building at the end of last year. We started construction on it at the very beginning of this year. And then the coronavirus hit. And so interestingly, the progress on the building has not stopped. So the construction industry was not really that affected by all of this as a lot of people are. And so they've been trucking along. And so we're still set to open that building, around September this year. A lot of work still has to be done, but we're really excited about that new building.
Hopefully that'll be good timing for everybody and they can get back out and enjoy getting together. I know people miss having that one-on-one, and I looked through some of the Facebook posts and it was fun. I mean, and also I think you're doing some online classes or workshops.
Yeah, so I mean, when the coronavirus hit, we had to really very quickly kind of adjust, and things got turned kind of upside down for really the whole world, of course. But here at Senior Action, specifically, we shut down, and the very next week we started serving meals to people through a drive-through service. So we at 7 different locations, we're having folks come through and pick up their food because we want to make sure people are being fed, and we want to make sure that they're staying out of the grocery store as much as possible. So that was kind of how we just stopped everything, and that's what we focus all of our attention on, is making sure people had some really needed services. But then we started realizing it became very clear that our seniors are really isolated and don't have some of the luxuries that other populations have. So for instance, our school kids, they very quickly switched over to digital learning, and the school teachers had to come up with lesson plans and they worked really, really hard, and they've created something that nobody ever thought they'd have to do, but they did. And then a lot of higher education, a lot of the colleges switched very quickly over to, you know, distance learning models. But the senior population does not have that ability. A lot of the folks that we serve don't even have computers in their houses. Some of them have smartphones but don't have computers. And so, so they were extremely isolated. And so they're in their homes and all they have is the television, and you know, they watch it all day long, which isn't necessarily good for their mental health. That's all the contact they're having with the public. And so, so we started putting some content out on Facebook, and then we've spent hours and hours and hours with people on the phone, like showing them how to start, you know, how do you create a Facebook page? How do you even get to Facebook? And, you know, how does that all work? And how do you FaceTime? Like if you need to FaceTime with a friend, like how can you do that? How do you do telehealth with your doctor? If you have to have a doctor's appointment that you're having to miss, you know, how do you do that? And so, you know, the senior population, we've realized is really, this is a huge opportunity for us to better serve the senior population, is by understanding that there is a gap in their ability digitally. They're just not, they haven't had the need. They haven't been in the workplace in a long time. And so they don't have the need to be so digitally connected. But in times like a pandemic, they do need to be. And so
Right.
that's a huge learning opportunity for us. And we've all talked about, you know, when we reopen, like this is going to be a huge focus of attention for us, is how do we make sure that our seniors have the ability to be connected with each other, and how can we communicate with them better through technology than just the telephone? Like there's got to be other ways that we can
That's
communicate.
great. That's great. That actually gives me kind of the chills, because unless you have your grandparents and you have some grandkids that can get you connected, or some really patient kids that are nearby, it's hard to stay connected digitally, and it's so new. Everything is new. So that's
Well,
great. Did you
yeah,
have
and we're
did you
and we're also
change?
finding out that our seniors have a lot of fear around the computer too. You know, we've drilled into their heads, be careful, you know, that scams and people are trying to take advantage of you, and all of that is true, but that makes them very reluctant to see the benefits of the digital age,
Mhm.
and to get to do things like, you know, visit with their grandchildren over FaceTime and Facebook and things like that. And so, you know, we've got to do a better job of teaching them how do you responsibly, just like we would with our kids, how do we responsibly use the computer, and how can it be a wonderful tool, but it can also be a negative. You know, for instance, the telephone, there's a ton of phone scams that take advantage of senior citizens, but that doesn't mean you throw the phone out the window. I mean, the phone is an important thing that they have in their homes for safety reasons. And so the computer is like that too. So we just got to help educate them that there are some very negatives about the computer, and it does open them up to some things, but it also has an enormous amount of positives that we've got to help them see and learn how to use it. And so that's just, I mean, again, there's always opportunities in all of these situations that come our way. And so that's one that we've identified right away, that we've got to do a better job of reaching these folks. They come through our food lines, and they are so lonely. And they tell us, you know, this is the only time we get out, you know, all day long. And we love seeing their faces. And but I know that they're eager to get back together. And so we don't yet know when that's going to be, but we just know that they're very eager to get back together.
Yes. Has that been a challenge for your staff to change from that direct service in person to trying to help people over the phone and doing some digital education?
I mean, it's definitely been challenging, but luckily we have a great team of people, and they love the people that we're serving. And I think that makes a big difference. You know, it is hard to walk people through technology over the phone, and especially people who are just not very comfortable with it. But you know, we just love it, and we love dealing with the population that we're serving, and our staff have just really actually enjoyed some of the conversations they've had, and they've learned a lot from some of the members. And so it's very time consuming. I think that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, you know, we had 535 people come through the food line yesterday.
Wow.
And if you try to make 535 phone calls, and you just do the math, an hour phone call each, it's just, you know, it's hard to get through all those phone calls. And so, you know, we want very badly to be personal in our approach, but sometimes it's just the sheer volume of the people makes that difficult.
Yes. You mentioned the food pickups. Let's put up the phone number for people to call. And why don't you talk a little about if someone needs help, or you don't have to be a member or
Right.
anything like that. You
Yeah.
just call.
Right. So thanks for saying that. So yeah, this is very, very important. I think this is probably the most important thing that we'll say in this whole interview is we want so badly to serve seniors who need it. You have to be over the age of 60, and that is the only requirement. You need to call that number that you see on the screen, 864-467-3660. That's all that it takes. If you need food, if you have a neighbor that needs food, if you have a relative that needs food, if they're over 60, they just call that number and we will set them up. And we will determine what's the closest location for them to come pick up their food, depending on where they live. The other really important thing is if they're not able to get their food, a family member or a caregiver or a neighbor can go get it for them. They just have to come through the line and say, hey, I'm here to pick up the food from Miss Smith. And that's fine. So you don't even have, the senior doesn't have to come get it themselves. So if somebody is willing to come pick up the food for them, that is completely fine. They do not have to be a member of Senior Action. They just need to be over 60. And so I think that's the most important part. This is a special program that we're doing. It's not normal. We don't normally do drive-through pickup lines. And normally there's, lots of our programs, you do need to be a member of Senior Action. But this particular program, we just want folks to have access to food if they need it. We want people to stay out of the grocery store as much as possible. We have handed out some other things. Like one day we handed out toilet paper, if people make us donations, we'll hand those out. So sometimes we give out other things beyond just food. And again, it's such a fun way to see a friendly face every day. One day for fun, I dressed up in a unicorn costume and stood out there and waved to everybody, just to add a little bit of variety and silliness and, fun. So you just never know what you might see when you come through our food line. But it's just super important that people help us share the word, because we want to serve as many people as we can right now. And so again, we're serving close to 535 people, but we've got the ability to serve a lot more if people need it. So please help. That's the big thing. Help spread that word for us and get the word out to your neighbors.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's amazing to talk to those who are out doing the work in the community, especially for seniors and work around food security. And it's wonderful to hear some good news. So thank you for taking this time to share Senior Action with us. And
thank you for having me, Justine.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Bye.